Doubles and coffee. Well, boy, I reading an editorial this week from the Guardian newspaper, the Guardian of the PNM, the Guardian of PNM propaganda, the Guardian newspaper that for 15 years has been attacking Kamla Persad-Bissessar and the UNC government, printing bold-faced front page headlines when the truth is told after they never retract. If they make a little a mistake with Kwamina or PNM or Rowley, if you see retraction, the editorial position, the hiring practice, totally PNM, nonsensical, idiotic to the max. So much so that they're struggling. For the last 2 years, they've lost over $30 million. They're on the verge of collapse because social media brings the truth. Imagine I have to read a Guardian editorial. Now this one, I have to analyze for you to show that I've now found evidence of the mens rea, meaning the idea, the concept that they know what they're doing, they understand what they do, and all the evidence that I provided to you over the years on Douglas politics and doubles and coffees to show the biased nature of the Guardian newspaper. Whenever anybody don't like Kamla or a dissident, they get a column, they get a right, they get a space to attack Kamla. Their editorial position, their hiring practice, hiring people who have been proven to be closely affiliated with the PNM, the Guardian of the PNM, the Guardian of democracy for PNM, the Guardian of propaganda for PNM. So on the issue, remember, with the Law Association trying to attack Kirk Megu and the UNC and trying to protect the president's senators without any real analysis of the all-encompassing principles of conflict of interest, apparent bias, actual bias. Imagine a law association discussing the possibility of an attack on democracy without actually analyzing the benchmarks for a discourse about conflict of interest, apparent bias, and the reasonable person test. Imagine that. Them just come to a conclusion without any sort of scientific discourse, without any objective criteria. Remember that issue? Well, the Guardian weighed in on it. Now, I don't want you all to only focus on that issue. Understand that the issue is very simple. Apparent bias, the benchmark is, if a reasonable person will feel, due to your relationship with anybody or any organization, that you would have a proclivity to be biased towards that person or organization or entity because you have a relationship, whether long-standing, short-standing, emotional, connected, brotherly, familial, whatever the relationship. So therefore, one would need, when having an adjudicator, a judge, an arbiter, that the person, the human being, has no connection whatsoever between the two parties. It's very simple. You see it in football, you see it in boxing. When you have a football match, Argentina versus Brazil, you just get referee from Qatar, no connection. You don't even get referee from Chile who would have lost to Brazil recently and might be vexed or might have a history of track record of. You don't get referees with or fourth officials, refereeing teams or VAR with any connection whatsoever, because it's simple principle. Be fair, have no emotion, have no connection. So the Guardian had a whole discourse with the Law Association. Then didn't discuss the Law Association bias anyway, the Law Association track record, the principles of apparent bias, actual bias, conflict of interest, and they just try to say that we need more responsible leadership, because to state the facts or factual matrix or position based on objective criteria and show that people are pointed by a poison tree, the fruit will be poisoned too. That is a basic principle. So the Guardian is saying that Kirk Megu, the UNC and so on is incorrect and we should have more mature leadership. But I'm going to read for you from this Guardian editorial to show you that, one, the Guardian understands the power of the media, the power of debate, the power of opinion, the power of discourse, the power of words. And therefore, The Guardian, for these 15 years of attacks on Kamla Persad-Bissessar, the UNC, when she was a prime minister, leader of the opposition, and continuing now when she's prime minister again, she defied the odds. She defied the attack. She defied the biased PNM fake news media. But I'm here to show you that the Guardian newspaper knows what it's doing. It knows the power of the words. It knows the influence that the mass media and the media could have on the minds, the mind share of the population, and shaping perceptions. They try to use it to attack the UNC. But you see the Douglas here to show you, don't take on Guardian Media Limited, fire burn Guardian. The few of y'all who still buying the papers, they down from 17,000 to 7,000 papers per day. Get it down to 0. Don't even read them online. Let me read first. Responsible leadership key to a functional democracy, says the Guardian. Politics is not for the faint-hearted. People in public life will face difficult situations and ad hominem personal attacks. Politics is fundamentally about power and the distribution of resources and status. In the ensuing competition over the distribution of resources, there will inevitably be conflict, even aggression. Indeed, the language in Parliament is more strident, if not coarse. Language is a powerful tool as it influences thought, behaviors, and emotions. Let me read that again for you. The Guardian newspaper is stating categorically, right, that language is a powerful tool as it influences thought, behaviors, and emotions. It can shape perceptions, frame narratives, and even control outcomes without the use of force. That is the power of the mass media before social media. The Guardian understands its power, understands the power of its words to shape perceptions, to change behaviors, to make people think that PNM is a viable option, to allow them to remain, to allow them to take abuse from Keith Christopher Rowley, to allow him to select his mini-me small pin without democracy, without following the PNM constitution, but tell you, vote for them, go for them an election. But because of social media, because of people telling you the truth, because of Doubles and Coffee, because of Douglas politics, because of the UNC putting out meetings, Monday Night Forum, Kamla Persad-Bissessar addressing issues, the UNC press conference on social media, you got the truth and you defeated this evil Guardian media and PNM fake news media. They continued. Debate also takes place in the public space, and politicians use aggressive language to gain attention, mobilize supporters, or intimidate opponents to achieve certain objectives. There are several examples of this approach by the ruling party. The first is the recent use of the term presidential senators, a reference to the independent senators appointed by President Christine Kangaloo. Now that's an amazing, magical twist. So, Kirk Mayhew, the UNC PRO, puts out statements of facts, shows that Christine Carla Kangaloo is a PNM, preaches the gospel of the PNM. Her actions as president of the Senate were totally biased towards the PNM. Her attacks on the UNC were relentless and continuous for a period. And he says, using the principles of objective analysis and apparent bias, that those senators selected by her who only represent the North, 8 out of 9, none of them even cross Grand Bazaar going down the road. He makes a case, also shows facts about track record and so on, not only with this set, but the previous set, including one who voted to water down procurement legislation to allow PNM to thief. Now, in this twist of magical writing, the Guardian says that Kirk Mayhew, who's never been considered a bully, he uses language very effortlessly. He is very descriptive and has a lot of adjectives and speaks even with an accent. So he has never been one to be considered a bully. But the Guardian calls him or implies that Kirk Megu is a bully, but Rowley, who stand up there in your face, cuss media, cuss reporter, cuss independent institution, cuss the population, shout at people, break down people, bully people left, right, and center. Oh, that was okay. Guardian, you're such a disgrace to yourself, to the so-called profession of media. The people know you, fake news media. It continues down at the bottom. They go through a whole list of nonsense. I can't bore you with all of it. But the attacks become focused, says the Guardian, following the president's speech at a Woman in Leadership event last week. Government parliamentarians publicly expressed distrust in the president because of her political past. No. Me, Anil, the Douglas, not only her political past, her current actions, her present actions, her continuing actions as President of the Senate, her rulings that are there for the public to see, her interruptions of UNC senators with outstanding orders being called from the PNM government, her use of her own power to bully the UNC that is already in a minority, not utilizing and following her job, which was simply to apply the standing orders. When asked what standing order, she says in her own words, who cares what standing order? I am standing. Do what I say when I say. And that's the record that was shown. So it was not just an ad hominem attack because she was a PNM. No, she preached the gospel of the PNM, and the gospel of the PNM is well entrenched in her spirit, body, and soul, the entire tapestry of her being, and it manifested itself for years in her biased application of the principles of democracy towards the PNM. It was a clear, cogent case, but the Guardian tries to say that it got worse and then she tried to blame it on her being a woman. Kamala Prasad's princess is a woman, strong woman, took all your pressure, all your PNM fake media attacks, your reports, your lies, your giving space to those few who didn't agree with her, who wanted power, who wanted position. She stood strong to that. Kamala Prasad is my leader, our leader. She is a woman. So we have no problem with women. In fact, in the reverse, we uphold and respect women more than anything because we boss is a woman. So them trying to tell we in the UNC that we attacking Kala Kangalu because a woman has nothing to do with she being a woman. It's about her PNM-ness, her inability to shake off that ballistic juice poison. So the Guardian continues. It is time, however, that the political leadership take a mature and nuanced approach to the business of managing the country if we are to achieve a properly functioning democracy. So we are to achieve a properly functioning democracy, says this Guardian of PNM nonsense. If Kirk Megu and the UNC does not state the facts, does not simply show evidence, show the principles of apparent bias, the benchmark, that the fruit from the poison tree is poison, and then show examples of the poison in it manifesting itself within the democracy. The PNM has controlled the PNM mass news media, the fake news, and I'm telling you all again and again, until Guardian Media is out of business, until Guardian Media and Guardian newspaper is down to 0 readers, that you have to keep the war on, because they understand the power of the media. They understand the power of the word. They understand what they can do. They understand that they can influence minds, create mind share, and influence behaviors, which they have done. Many of you have asked, but how people could still vote for PNM after Rowley's abuse, after Rowley say wean them off their own taxpayers' dollars, after recusals, after corruption, after poisoning independent institutions, after bullying and arrogance, after laziness and disappearing for 27 days and always on the golf course and bullying anybody and everyone and not accounting for your money, attacking the Auditor General and the DPP and the Judiciary and the Integrity Commission, how people could still vote for PNM? because the PNM mass media was telling you so. So ignore PNM mass media. Ignore Guardian.